Earthlings, and welcome to your weekly dose of newsy infotainment. Let's be treasonable, coming to you from the luxurious studios of Radio Titans in Los Angeles, with your cognitive dissidents on the panel this week. Jim Coughlin, Mr. Jim Coughlin in the house.
Hello.
How you doing, Jim?
Pretty good.
Excellent. Good to see you here. Also joining us, our resident nasty woman, Erika Schickel.
Yeah, but this week, just call me Sally Yates, will you? That's the name I want to go under.
Slap my ass and call me Sally. No, we can't. We're calling you Sally. And joining us for his first time on the show, our very special guest, director of the feature film Nightmare Code, which is currently available on Amazon, iTunes, and all your other digital platforms, Mr. Mark Netter.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Well, it is America in Crisis, Day 114.
And who are you?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Who are you?
That's a topic for a whole other show. But I am your host, Dr. David Robinson,
All right.
steering the ship, as
Hooray.
it were. And so let's take a look at steering the ship and what's been going on. It has been another slow news week out of Washington, D.C., but amazingly, we still find things to talk about. For instance, a big story this week, if you can call it that.
Was there a big story this week?
You know, they all just sort of blend these days. But the firing of FBI Director James Comey. Getting rid of the guy who is investigating the Russia-Trump collusion probe. And,
Smooth move, Trump.
Oddly enough, just wasn't cutting the mustard, according to the guy who says that he was assured 3 times that he was not under investigation.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
The best was like the multiple justifications, starting with the letter.
Yes.
Which said, the reason I did this was because you really mishandled that crooked Hillary investigation.
Yeah.
You were unfair to Hillary.
Which seems totally plausible coming out of this White House.
Totally makes. And then, like the next day, there's like what was the next justification?
Yeah, after lock her up. I mean, come on, people.
And then ultimately,
they lost. The FBI agents had lost faith with him.
Oh, that was a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
But my favorite was that he actually goes on national television with Lester Holt and admits that he that he fired him because enough of this Russian investigation, which, is.
We need to move on, right?
Yeah.
It's too much. And
it's fake news.
That's obstruction of justice.
Yes,
that
it
is an impeachable and possibly imprisonable offense, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
widespread.
And then he also tweeted basically that Comey should watch himself because there may be tapes of what Comey said,
which is so stupid because Adam Schiff is like, we'd like to see those tapes. Come on, let's have them.
Of those tapes.
It's if I thought that they were just a little bit smarter, you'd say, okay, what is our story going to be on this one?
Yeah, and
then you have that meeting, you hammer it out, you think, will this withstand scrutiny? Well, better than the other ones or whatever. But they just tell you something different every week, every day. The spokesman says one thing, Trump says another, and it never holds up. And yet,
well, I think that this is what Trump said during the campaign, that he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and get away with it. I think he said that his supporters would still love him, but I think that's his whole modus operandi.
It's what he's doing.
Do whatever he wants.
And the vast majority of the Republicans are like, okay, we can accept a few people getting shot on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah,
in return for a massive tax cut for the rich.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're just at the start of the horror film, and he's not going to get killed till the end of the movie. And so it's
and even then, they're going to go back to a shot of where the body was laying, but is now mysteriously gone.
Yes.
And it's like America is the freaked out girl running in slow motion on a broken heel.
Yeah.
Fumbling with her car keys, trying to get away from this zombie state.
Yeah, who didn't think to call the cops.
Yeah.
And people wanted him to be impeached yesterday, and it's like that's not how the movie goes.
No.
You never kill the beast in the first 20 minutes.
God.
I don't know. I could go for a Hitchcock psycho twist right about now. Like, wow, did not expect them to kill him off this early.
Right.
But here's a question, and this is a blend of wishful thinking and also sort of my ignorance of the process, but wondering if there is a process. So let's say that it is proven that there was collusion between Trump and the Russians, which would in no way have been given more credence by his meeting with Kislev and
no, that's certainly not anything to
the
worry about.
Russian spies in the Oval Office.
Right, without the U.S. press in the room.
Right.
But the Russian press taking photos, publishing them,
Dropping listening devices into lamps.
Yeah, but not a tool. Because
I gave you this lamp to keep forever.
Well, they could never do
Keep
that
it
because
next to
Donald
you.
Trump is not easily distracted.
Yeah, right.
But let's say he does get impeached. Obviously, the line of succession. Pence is doing a great job of playing unknowing patsy. I don't know anything that's going on. This is what they told me. But so because of the line of succession, Pence will ascend unless
the Michael
somehow,
Flynn thing,
And then,
he's potentially implicated there. All these guys are implicated in some way.
But what happens with
President
everything that has been done by Trump, specifically in terms of appointments? Are they then seen as illegitimate because it was done by a presumed foreign mole?
I think it's all legal, though. In other words, if he appointed somebody, that person's legitimately there. They might have less political pull as a result of the fact that they were put in there by him. But I would say all the positions he's filled would still stay there. And
so it's not like that Superman 2 movie where like he flies backwards around the earth.
we can't undo, unfortunately, the
great.
Trump years.
Wasn't that in the first one?
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Tackling the important issues.
Yes.
Which Superman?
By
is
God,
it?
which one was it? Well, I think it was the first one.
I'm going with 1 too, but
Yeah.
we could always spin it backwards.
Yeah, I'm confused. Is this Nixon 1 or Nixon 2 we're living with right now?
Yeah.
Well, that's another great thing that a lot of people brought up in the news this week was that the Nixon library was compelled to tweet.
Right.
By the way, Nixon never fired the director of the FBI.
Oh, the Nixon library tweeted that?
Yeah.
I like
with the hashtag not Nixonian.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah, our guy was a scumbag, but he wasn't like that.
Yeah,
he got rid of other people that were investigating him, but not the head of the FBI.
Special prosecutor Archibald Cox.
It's with Trump. He's getting criticized in ways no president has ever been criticized.
Yeah.
Merriam-Webster has been putting out definitions of words that he misuses. When he used the term, he claimed to have invented the term "prime the pump."
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
He didn't he? I've never heard that.
That was
ever.
this week. That was. Was that in an interview with Financial Times?
Maybe The Economist. Yeah.
It was The Economist. Yeah.
It wasn't Children's Highlights?
God, he is a brilliant linguist.
President Goofus.
The funny thing is, he's used it more than months ago, right, or maybe years ago, and yet he then tells them that he just came up with it. And it's like, I'm not that interested in finance. I know the term. Everybody knows that term. And yet here he's claiming to have invented it. So Merriam-Webster put out that it has existed in the current usage since the 1930s. And it's like
round about the time that pumps were big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Trump, okay, how did you come up with prime the pump? Do you even know what priming a pump means?
Well, when he grew up on a farm, as we all know.
Yes, we do.
I was thinking it was some
Brooklyn.
Swedish penis enlargement project that he had purchased.
That's the lube you put
first
in
you get
the
to prime the
plastic
pump,
tube
and then
before you put your
that
dick
would have been
in
a great follow-up question would have been like, oh, how exactly do you prime a pump? Because if you invented the term, surely you would know what the hell that actually means.
Well, I have a thing with that kind of started happening to me right after the election. I think I try not to listen to Trump, and I know that's bad because you need to know what the president's saying, and you need to know what the opposition's saying. But I go by the assumption that 98% of everything he says is bullshit, and so I don't need to pollute my mind with that. One of the way that fascists work, and this happened during the election really heavily, is that they colonize your mind.
Yeah.
So you're always thinking about Putin every day, you're always thinking about Stalin every day, you're always thinking about Mussolini every moment of every day. And that's what Trump's been doing. And if you realize that
it's working. We have been thinking about Putin every day.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
Stalin every day and Mussolini every day.
But what I find is that, the stuff I don't, I'll maybe glance at if finally, like, there's a bunch of tweets you find about, you read a blog in the morning, they say, oh, he had a tweet storm, and I'll make glance at it. Or I might, like, if he says something that is, that incriminates himself, yes, I will be interested in that soundbite.
Yeah.
But I don't need to read the whole time interview and be going like, with all these other friends on Facebook going like, can you believe what he said? Can you believe how crazy this is? It's like, this is the norm now.
This is what it is.
I don't know if anyone listened to KCRW's Left, Right, and Center yesterday, but one of the panelists was saying his wife is a TV writer, and she worked on The West Wing, and he said that the past 113 days yesterday being considered, he wanted to apologize to his wife for every time he looked at one of her scripts and said, this isn't realistic. Right. This will never happen.
Yeah.
Because that is what the world has become.
The colonizing the mind thing, what I find interesting about that is, and first of all, I'm definitely someone who I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh my God, I cannot believe Trump is president.
Yeah, I do too.
Or I'll be like, oh, that's why I was happy. I forgot that Trump was president,
Yeah.
And what a gift it would be if I could suddenly flip it and be happy that he was my president, to be that delusional. And I think that's why
there's some states you could move to.
And I think that's why so many people will stick with him for 4 years. It's
because they don't want to endure the discomfort.
Yeah, it's very discomforting to know that you've basically been completely hoodwinked. And I think most people, when they're hoodwinked, they justify it and say, well, no, that guy wasn't selling me a bad car. He's a good guy. He goes to my church or whatever. Yeah. It's like it fell apart. When you drove it off the lot, and it was whatever. And I think that's
people don't want to be wrong.
That's why we're suing the city, because their sidewalks caused all these defects in my car as soon as I drove across it.
Yeah.
But really, people don't want to be wrong. People and all of the sort of, we're going to put it in a finger quote, science, or these studies around, reasoning with Republicans or people in Trump's base, it just goes nowhere. There is no point of reason there. You can't cite evidence.
Well, they are fact resistant.
They are fact resistant.
Yeah. And they're low information. I mean, the four of us here in this room, are probably more politically aware of and current events aware of what's going on than like 90% of the people out there. I mean, there are people that I look up to who know much more than I do. Other guys on other podcasts, whatever it is, and but still, you got to look at it and think there's a lot of people where. They're too busy trying to like make enough money to keep their family alive, or keep their fucking business floating when things are going bad, or they're in competition, or they've got an interest that they're pursuing that they're more interested in. They don't have the brain space for this, and so it becomes just about image.
Well, the psychological principle is that the most, if not all people, their guiding force is the idea that I know what I like and I like what I know.
Yeah.
And we were before the show, we were talking about the French election, and it came up that there's no equivalent to Fox News in France, which is probably what really helped Macron beat Le Pen. But
I'm going to jump in because I just want to say one thing about this point, because I was reading a thing earlier, I think in Vox, about Trump, and there really is no there. Like let's just take him at face value. He is what he is. And after reading that article, I thought, okay, fine, but we elected him president. And if that's the case, then there really is no there in the American voting populace, And to sort of go back to that question of like, well, what I think, Mark, that you're making a good point. People really are busy with the like, I need to survive issues. But we're coming to a point of we need to pay attention to this in order to survive. Once those people have their health care taken away, maybe they will wake up and become politically active. And I think the problem...
It's happening.